Hello, Airmen of the 142nd Wing. I'm Colonel Todd Hofford, your Vice Commander for this wing. I'm here today speaking to you all as part of our May regularly scheduled drill that we're doing virtually. And Colonel Sittler and I have teamed up on two commanders' talking points, and the one today that I'm talking to you about is suicide prevention. This is part of the wingman intervention training that's required annually. And a commander within your chain of command is required to talk a little bit about it and how it applies to us. With that being said, I just wanted to remind you of a little bit of stats that have been going on, not only amongst the active duty Air Force, but National Guard in our state as well. Suicide prevention has always been a topic of discussion. I know that a lot of the things that I might be mentioning to you today seem to be pointing out the obvious, and you've heard them many times before. But more than ever, this is a time when we need to address it. In 2019, the active duty Air Force experienced 137 suicides. That's essentially 2.7 per day. An airman was taking their own lives. In the National Guard, we have been averaging over the last 5 years, 22 airmen and soldiers taking their lives per 1,000. That is extreme. For the state of Oregon, we've actually seen a lot of suicide ideation reports regularly come down from our Joint Force headquarters to Fighter Wing headquarters as situational awareness on what's going on amongst our airmen and soldier force. So this is real, it's happening, and it's really important that we do what is required in order to prevent suicides amongst our force. One of the primary things that we need to do as airmen is recognize the family that we belong to. The 142nd is not just a military organization. We take care of each other. We love and care for one another to make sure that we continue to succeed in executing the mission. That includes promoting resilience and also building connections amongst the force, meaningful connections. You know, that's a valuable tool in order to prevent suicide. Airmen must always be active in reaching out to each other, understanding each other, knowing families, knowing pets' names, understanding who they work with, who they interact with, so that you can always be cognizant of signs of possible distress, which leads to the next subject here in suicide prevention. Signs of distress. You know, stress is a normal part of our culture, especially in these times with COVID-19 and the strange ways we are trying to do business and continue to keep the mission going. It's been a challenge. We continually need to think outside of the box and do things that we're not used to doing. It's not necessarily black and white, and it's awfully gray. We have to make decisions at multiple different levels, and these situations cause a lot of distress amongst our force. Signs of distress, as you are, building those connections and promoting that resiliency and establishing those relationships, the things that we'd like you to look for are mood changes amongst airmen that you work with, signs of depression, angry behavior that you're not used to, irritability, agitation, or anger, difficulty sleeping, whether it be sleeping too much or sleeping too little, and then withdrawing. That's the primary sign. So withdrawing not only in communication, but with your coworkers, with your family, and with your friends. Identifying that distress is probably the most important tool in trying to prevent suicide. From there, it's really important that as we are continuing to monitor, that we do promote that resiliency. In order to do that, some of the things that we want to pay attention to in trying to make sure that our force is always ready to go is do things such as just exercising with one another, meditating, recognizing or expressing gratitude for all that we do together, engaging in creative activities, practicing resilience skills, and then just continuing to connect with family, friends, and coworkers so that we can maintain that glass half full positive atmosphere at all times. Now, if you come across a situation in regards to experiencing those signs of distress amongst either a family or a friend or coworker, it's important that we follow the ACE acronym. You've heard this in the past, but it's ask, care, and then escort. Remember ACE, ask, care, escort. For the first one, to ask, just don't be afraid to ask. Ask your fellow airmen, have you thought of harming yourself? Have you thought of suicide? Have you thought of killing yourself? It's uncomfortable, but it's important. And you'd be surprised sometimes the answers that you receive. Pay attention to those nonverbals. Was there hesitation? Was there immediate affirmation of a yes or a no? And based on that, the important thing is that we now continue to care. And that leads to the C in ACE, and that is to care. Care for their well-being. It's important that we're not only caring about what's going on within their lives, but then taking that time to do that proactive listening. Paying attention to how they're responding to the things that you're asking about, what's going on in their lives, clarifying everything that's going on, maintaining that good eye contact and attentive posture so that it is perceived that you do care and your intent is pure in order to try and now do the next thing, which is to escort these airmen to someone that can get them the professional help that they deserve. In regards to escorting, we have a lot of ways to do that. The good part is we are part of this 142nd family. We have a chain of command that we can utilize as required or necessary. In addition to that, we've got our Director of Psychological Health, Heather Gautier-Bell. She is available via cell phone. She's available via email. And if you don't recognize or know how to get a hold of her, again, using your chain of command in order to try and find her. She is our subject matter expert in suicide prevention and continuing to care and escort for our airmen who do have ideations. Another option is the standard emergency room. If you're with an airman or family member who needs to be cared for, escorting them to an emergency room that will have the expertise required on the public side in order to make sure that they get what they need. The last thing is the SLOW acronym. SLOW stands for safe, locks, and outside. So what we want to do is we want to go slow. So if we get past the care and the escort phase and kind of as we're transitioning, that's when you want to start to consider, okay, are there areas within the airman's home or their environment that we can safe up the areas to not provide any means for them to hurt themselves. Lock up, that's the L for SLO, anything that might be a potential threat. Or just get them outside of their environment, get them outside of themselves and that depressing atmosphere to a more enlightening area to where they can get the help and the attention that they deserve. I would like to close with just my appreciation and recognition of this 142nd family. We all work so hard, but it is really important that we take the time to smell the roses, to understand how we're all doing, and to know each other so that we can recognize signs of distress, follow the Ask Care Escort acronym, and then continue to proceed with safe, lock, and proceeding outside and making sure that our airmen get all of the attention they deserve in order to get past this tough, rough time that they're experiencing, and then possibly they can then care for other airmen that may be in need. With that being said, I just wanted to let you know that our May RSD website will have pamphlet information and all of these notes available to you as required. Also the video to share as desired to make sure that we continue optimum resiliency amongst our entire force. With that being said, again, Colonel Todd Hofford, your Vice Commander, thank you very much for your time.